Welcome to Football Mezzanine. This week we go over the Chelsea-Barcelona game as well as United's game in Seville.
Also joining us this week, we have a Chelsea fan who walks us through his take on their season so far and how well he thinks they can do for the remainder.
Okay, so welcome to the third episode of Football Mezzanine. And we're going to do something different here, which we actually should have done at the very beginning. We're going to introduce ourselves because you don't know who I am, I don't know who Shrikar is, and we don't know who Tristan is. So why don't you start off, Shrikar? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, my name is Shrikar. I'm currently living in Ottawa. I'm an engineering student at the University of Ottawa in second year computer engineering. And I've been a Liverpool fan for the last, 8 years now. And yeah, I've been following Liverpool for morning games, evening games, through the heartbreaks, through all those trophyless seasons.
You sound like you're recording an app for Harvard.
Yeah, basically. That's me. Harvard. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Liverpool fan here. And interested to see how the season goes along. What about you, Ansh?
I'm Ansh. I'm also living in Ottawa, even though I don't live here. I actually go to school in Waterloo for engineering as well. So here are two Eng kids, three today, two Eng kids just talking about soccer. I'm a Man City fan, and I think it's been...
Plastic.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. 6 years, yeah, since I was in ninth grade.
Sure, not since they've been winning.
No,
Basically,
that was 2008, mate. So yeah, I've been a City fan for 6 years, and have an X number of years to go until I die. So, that's me. And we actually have a third guest on our show today. His name is... What's your name, Tristan?
Well, as Ansh just let you guys know, my name is Tristan. I'm a Chelsea fan, electrical engineer from Ottawa, and I've been a Chelsea fan for 12 years now, so since hopefully the beginning. They're a little bit hopefully before they got good or just around that time. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't switched to becoming a City fan now, right? So.
No,
Hey, to be fair,
too
you
much
guys
jumping on
okay.
the bandwagon. And yeah, so I'm hoping they're gonna turn around this year, but we'll see.
There's nothing to turn around. They're still pretty good, mate.
Yeah, but they had a past couple rough games, and they got a rough schedule coming up, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that as well, so let's just get right into it. So this week, the Champions League was back at its best, and the English teams were actually, at least one of them this week was back to their best. Chelsea. Tristan, we'll let you start off with this. What did you make of their 1-1 draw? Like, did you expect them to do so well against Barcelona?
I don't think anyone expected them to do well against Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, Barca has been dominating, or at least doing incredibly in their own league. They've done well in the group stages as well. Chelsea, on the other hand, has had their good moments in the league. They've had some rough games recently as well. So I remember actually seeing a stat of polls, and I think it was 20% thought that Chelsea would win, and then it was essentially 5% tie, and then the rest was all for Barcelona. So I think it's a shock for most people, but I'm happy actually with how it turned out.
Yeah, I'll admit, like, I was one of them. I thought Chelsea, I didn't think they had any chance of getting a result, forget, like, getting actually really close to winning. So Conte did really well with his tactics. He didn't play Morata. He played Fabregas in midfield, which, like, you don't really associate with Conte. You usually think he's, like, a very defensively solid type coach. So do you think he got the tactics right? And do you think he actually meant the game to go exactly as it did on Wednesday? Like,
I think he got the tactics actually spot on. I think they almost had essentially had a perfect execution. I know that he mentioned recently that he'd been watching some of their games and kind of like studying and preparing for this for at least a month now. So the way that he set it up was he had Hazard, Willian up at the front, which I thought was a good spot for as far as speed goes.
Pedro.
They also played more of a defensive game as well, especially you can see that with the possession where they had, I think Barca had upwards of 70% or greater on possession as well. And
if you look at the passes,
you couldn't
they
even
had,
realize
like-
that though. The game itself, like Chelsea looked the dominant force, so it's the stats itself don't really display how the game went.
Right, like
But I think that's how like Conte set up his team though. Conte and Conte were like the defensive rock in the sense that Chelsea played against the strength of Barca because they neutralized all the threat that was coming to them. They nullified Suarez, who himself is like a fantastic player. Messi, until he got that goal, was kept relatively quiet. The entire midfield was just although Barca had a lot of passes, they didn't have like a passage through to goal, which I think Chelsea did really, really well, which really impressed me.
yeah, and I mean the goal that Chelsea scored as well, it was coming for a while too. I mean, how many times he hit the post 2 times, William, in the first half.
Twice, yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
jeez.
I don't think Conte like set up to score a goal like that. He was obviously trying to hit them on a counter, but he got his tactics spot on, and it reminded me of the Chelsea of last season because they were solid, they were counterattacking and looking like super dangerous, and then they also didn't really play with a front man, as you said, but they seemed to get that right too. So all in all,
Well, for him, I think it was, yeah. I think for Conte, I think Conte squared is what really set up the game, where Conte, the coach, ended up putting Conte Nagolo in the middle, and he really dominated that middle. He generally is always like a workhorse right in the middle, and it gives you a huge boost to the game. But then you set up a solid middle line, and you can keep feeding your top line. It was just a matter of time before Chelsea got put one in the back of the net there, especially after the 2 posts by Willian.
yeah, and it's surprising because you wouldn't associate Barca to be the team that would be really nullified by something like that because they would face it so often in La Liga. But Conte, as you said, he's been watching their games and he figured out exactly what to do to not get them striking you into dangerous positions. So,
And to be honest, Chelsea could have come off with like a 3-0 win here easily, because if those 2 goals went in and Christensen didn't make that one mistake,
yeah,
that could have easily been 3-0 and could have been tie over.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, the only mistake of the game they made was the one that cost them, and that was with the Christensen pass there. And even Azpilicueta had a chance to at least kind of redeem that pass. But
Right,
I don't know
right.
why he just came up flying, diving on the side, but it's too bad. It could have been a completely different game, score-wise at least.
I think that goal now gives Barca the advantage. I think they can go on and
Barca go away with the away
Yeah,
goal now.
I think that-
so
gives them the advantage, and I think that goal could be the goal that takes them through.
because now Chelsea need to attack at Camp Nou. They can't sit back.
Yeah, that's exactly it, especially with the way it sets up with aggregate. They have at least a good position where they just need to score a goal, and then all they need is the tie
Right.
or the win at that point. So it's good, but in the same sense, Ansh and I were talking about this earlier. Camp Nou is just such a big field that it's really a whole different game almost. You have a lot wider of a field, so it gives you a lot more passing play. So it'll be interesting to see how he sets up his team for the field itself.
Do you think you should play with a striker next time?
Honestly, this worked out so well, I would keep it. Maybe make a few tweaks, but I wouldn't go up with a striker. Morata's kind of been cold as of late. Giroud's a little still too new to really get in tight. I would keep them like he did as more of a substitution to come on kind of thing if you need the extra person or you see someone's kind of on the slow side. But they did so well against them. I'd almost keep at least a similar setup.
Oh, wow. You wouldn't start Olivier Giroud at the Camp Nou?
I'd honestly start Giroud because I think Giroud offers that
I was kind of
something
kidding,
different.
but
like,
go on.
no, really, I honestly think Giroud should start because I think Giroud offers that something different for Chelsea, like a different route, because he's really good in the air, and I think that's one of the only ways Chelsea can really score a goal at Barca, because I don't see them penetrating through the defense.
See, I
as
agree with
easily.
you entirely about he gives that whole like different form of dynamic for the team, and I think that's why they got him. But he's still a little new. I find it takes a little time for players to get used to each other, to kind of figure out, okay, like this is where you move, this is how you move. But if you actually just look at Willian, the nice thing about him is out of the 8 Champions League goals he has, 6 of them have been from outside the box. So you don't necessarily even need to penetrate the defense at that point. Like as we saw in the last game, his goal and one of his posts were identical. Little shift to the side and then just nice quick shot.
And I don't think Shrika, like I agree with you as well, but I think in terms of Barcelona, just the way they play, I think a more counter-attacking pace threat would be much more dangerous than maybe a lone man up front trying to bring others into play. Just because they leave so many men forward. So I think if you have like Hazard, Willian, and Pedro counter-attacking, I think that could just be a lot more dangerous than Giroud holding it up. That's just my opinion, though.
I guess.
You guys are entirely right,
Yes.
though.
Well, I guess we'll have to see in the game too, like the dynamic of the game. Like if at halftime things aren't going too well, maybe it's like then Giroud can maybe come off the bench, I guess, instead of like starting from the get-go.
Yeah, and that would be the point when they would need to put a striker on, is if they notice it's not going exactly their way. But they're going to have to go.
Would you put Morata in or Giroud in if that situation does come up?
Between
the
two?
Would you put Morata?
Ooh,
yeah.
See, that's a tough one. Morata's been a little cold, but I feel like you got to give him that opportunity. He's
and he does know the league better. Like
he
knows the field better. He also knows like Barca better, I guess.
Actually, that's a good
Giroud
point.
Does.
Yeah, he does. He has played against those defense before, so it's probably a little bit easier for him. I completely agree.
I think he's scored quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but I think he has a couple of goals against Barca too.
Mm-hmm.
So Christensen just making that one small mistake that let Barca in, but overall a really solid Chelsea performance. Do you think English teams are kind of making a comeback this year in the Champions League?
Well, yeah, actually, they definitely are. If you look at just how many teams, just even the sheer number that have actually progressed to the Champions League, this is the second time that 4 compatriot clubs have even topped their sections. And on top of that, it's the first occurrence. And the first occurrence was actually in 2006/7 when you had Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and United that achieved that feat. And then actually the only other time that there was 5 sides from the same nation that actually contested in the group stage was in 2015-16 when you had the Spanish league with Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, and then Sevilla and Valencia.
Yeah, and it's actually really great to see. I'm glad. It's sad to say, but I think the lack of Arsenal and the addition of Tottenham for the past 2 seasons has made us look stronger as well, because Tottenham are a really, really solid team. I keep saying it, but I love Tottenham, and I love...
No, I don't think it's the lack of Arsenal. It's just like the favorable draw, because Arsenal aren't a bad team. They just had like a really, really bad draw.
That's not true. I mean, they drew Shakhtar Donetsk 2 years ago too, and again they went out in the round of 16 like they always do.
Yeah, I found that Arsenal, they're a good team. It's just for some reason in Champions League, either by luck in getting a bad match like a group stage, which they have had, or like just unfortunately a couple bad games when it really counts. Either end, they haven't brought it to the Champions League, and so it's nice to see Tottenham kind of compensate for that.
And Spurs have been fantastic. Like, jeez, I don't expect Spurs to do that against.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it. When it really counts, that's when English teams have really stepped up this season. Because Chelsea, like if you look at it, they're not doing too well in the season, but when it really counted against Barcelona, they really stepped up. So good on them. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Arsenal. Yeah. Sanchez left Arsenal to join United and playing some big games and put in some big performances. But the next game of the Champions League that we're going to talk about is the United game. I'm not going to say anything yet because I don't have anything positive to say about United. So I'll let you guys start off with this one.
To be honest, I switched off the game after 45 minutes because I think that sums it up. Too boring. Like I was watching the game and I was just like, what am I watching? It's just back and forth. Not even back and forth. It's like pointless.
I was watching it on BT
like,
Sport.
Mourinho is clearly
And Steve McManaman, the commentator, he was like, he clearly had something on Sevilla because he just constantly kept bashing them, and like they were the only team essentially playing football. If you look at the stats too, I think they had like 60-something% possession, and like that's shocking. Like the money that United have spent.
It's a classic Mourinho like away performance. Like go set up for the draw.
How do you spend that much money on Pogba, Sanchez, Lukaku, and then you still don't have like possession against a team like Sevilla? Like, is this really what like United fans expect?
Well, I don't know if it's what they expect, and I don't think it's what they would like. So we'll start off with Mourinho. I would say the reason possession-wise is probably more due to his tactics. He's pretty renowned for let's say, parking the bus or playing a more defensive style, he gets the wins as a result, but he really does then compensate a little bit on the possession, the nice attacking flair that United fans have been at least used to in the Fergie era. So it's not necessarily what they want, but if it compensates and gets you like trophies, gets you like league win or like championships, then I think they'll be okay with it.
Do you think this football can get you a Champions League win though? Because they were literally one good play away from like conceding a Sevilla goal, or one David De Gea amazing save away from conceding a goal.
I mean, he's done it twice before. He's gotten the Champions League win with Inter Milan, and then also
He has.
with
Yeah.
Porto. Yeah, exactly.
He did it with tight budget squads too. So like I don't know. I think I'd kind of expect more with just the amount he spent simply on attacking players, because
Yeah,
like he's buying
I
all
can
these
see
players,
that.
but it almost feels like he's not even using them right.
I think almost the bigger issue is if you look at Pogba like, coming on in the 15th minute. Like, first off, why? I mean, why?
Yeah, that really like put me off a little bit. Like, you don't start, like, in my opinion, one of your best players, and then 15 minutes in you take off Andrew Herrera.
That's the thing with Mourinho. Like, he doesn't seem to fill his players with confidence, and if they like have a poor performance, he'll bench them or he'll publicly criticize them. Like, that's not really going to make your players improve, in my opinion. Like, that's the difference
Yeah.
between Mourinho and other.
No, but if you look at City and if you look at Liverpool, we went away to difficult European sides and we spanked them 4-0,
Yeah,
5-0
and-
respectively. And it's not like it can't be done.
With the players United have, they can definitely, like, easily beat Sevilla. But it's just like Mourinho always takes the safer.
I'd agree. I'm not sure what's going on in his head. I know there was rumors around or Pogba at least for a little bit recently, saying that he might be unhappy or there's a row between him and Mourinho. I mean, if anything, this kind of gave more like evidence towards that. Assuming like
Right.
why in the Champions League would you not play him? Especially even considering just take away that like the sheer amount of money they put into him. Like if he's healthy, you put him on, and there wouldn't be a reason if he wasn't unhealthy you'd then kick him on in the 15th minute. Like I think there's something going on there, but Mourinho is also known for having about 2 or 3 seasons with a team, and then players start to turn on him. You saw it at Chelsea in the first stint. You saw it with Real Madrid too at the end, where there was a
Right.
lot of players that were hating him, and now Man U's getting around that time. I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see players that are kind of fed up with his way, I guess.
But he also signed a long-term contract, like, I think a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
signed one with Chelsea too, and we saw how that turned out.
That was hilarious. Like, what was he doing?
Oh, just the amount of money we had to pay him after, just the
He's
sheer
still-
amount.
He's still living in a hotel. You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The Lowry.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. They're making so much bank with them too.
It's ridiculous. So
Classic Mourinho.
one thing though, David De Gea, that save has to be mentioned. That save
How
was.
much do you guys think he's worth in this market?
Um, I don't know, man.
You know what? The way
300 million.
like the way it's been going recently, who knows it? I mean, they've been exploding. I think it's going to stay up. It's going to continue to go up, especially with the TV rights deals for the Premier League. But in today's market, he's definitely upwards over 100. I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
since he's got to be top 3 in the world. I would say around 150 million euros, probably.
Yeah.
So basically the same thing for what Coutinho went for.
Yeah, I think he'd be around that, and it would
Yeah.
probably be safe to say that Courtois would be somewhere in that range too, and Neuer. I'm not even gonna talk about Neuer. He doesn't. He's not moving.
No,
Yeah.
Neuer's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's been injured for a while, so people have kind of forgotten about him, but he's still up there, obviously.
But he's gonna come back. Like,
Yeah. So, United, after that performance, they should still go through, in my opinion, because at home.
they should go through, but
Mourinho was.
You never know.
After all we've said, Mourinho was still playing for that result, and he'll be happy with that result because Sevilla are most
Right.
dangerous at home. So, I can see United easily going through at the home leg, but it's just goes back to the question, like, is this really what United fans are happy with?
Because now United have to play like their full strength squad for that tie. But if you look at City and Liverpool, we can like afford to rest our players a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't have to play our full strength,
But it just
and that could like help the league position more.
yeah, it just seems like he's not willing
It's
to
poor
take that
game
risk.
management, in my opinion. because it's not like you're playing Juventus or Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well-
just poor game management.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know. I'm not Mourinho. I don't have 2 CL titles, so.
Yeah.
Well, Ansh, you brought up a good point that maybe he was playing for the tie, really, and that's why they were so defensive and out of it, just to get over that home stretch, and now you have home at Old Trafford. You can then go out and go full offensive force. I mean, on the counter side, you look at it, and it kind of puts them at a disadvantage. As soon as Sevilla puts 1 goal in, like,
Yeah.
they now have it on
Mhm.
aggregate. So no matter
That's
what,
true.
ties-wise, they're screwed, which means you need to win. There's no
Yeah.
ifs, ands, or buts. Which, again, they should, but it still
Right.
puts you at the slight disadvantage if you're just looking purely at a bit of the statistics.
Yeah, that's
Because
really
Sevilla
true.
could end up do the same thing. Like, if Sevilla go there and play for the draw, we could end up seeing...
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
especially if he
penalties.
starts like McTominay, Herrera, and Matic as a
Right.
midfield 3 again, like he did today. So I don't know. Maybe he should start playing Pogba, giving him some confidence. The next game against Chelsea should be a start.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
definitely a one to watch for sure. Especially seeing how Chelsea's starting to a little bit turn it around in recent form, and then Man U
Mhm,
now has been
mhm.
having a little bit of issues. We'll see what happens, but Man U has a good squad regardless. And I mean, if I'm betting money, at least for the Champions League for against Sevilla, it would be on Man U. And as far as that Chelsea Man U game, I'm thinking it's more going to be around a draw.
Yeah, that's what
I'd take a draw. I'd be happy with that.
Liverpool fan says I'll take a draw.
Of course you would.
That's the perfect result.
Yeah, I'd take a draw. I don't really care.
As Chelsea, we have to in the next 4 games. It's really do or die for them. They got to win 3 of those 4 for sure.
Yeah, you guys have a
Who you
big...
guys playing after Chelsea?
You-
After United.
Yeah, you got Man U, you got Man City after that. There's Leicester, and then there was one more tough game. I just
I
can't
think it's
remember.
Liverpool.
I think it's Liverpool.
Oh.
Yeah. But that's not
Brutal.
really a tough game, is it? No, I'm joking.
Not really, no.
Depends on who's at home.
No, it's Chelsea home.
Okay,
Ooh,
well...
Chelsea's good at home, yeah.
But then again, we beat you guys last season at home, so I don't know.
You know what?
Who knows?
Liverpool's been doing well this year. You got to give it to them.
Yeah, they've been doing really well. Hopefully Van Dijk can be that difference for the rest of the season. Maybe they can even finish in the
No,
top
Van
2.
Dijk's been really, really good when he's come in.
Yeah.
It's made
So,
75 million worth it.
That's the next game,
completely.
actually, Man United versus Chelsea, that we're going to talk about. So, do you guys think Mourinho is going to park the bus again?
No, United's at home. I'd expect them to go for some sort of attacking mindset.
Well, I think
mean,
the last big team that came to Old Trafford was Man City, and he pretty much parked the bus from the offset.
But let's see, Man
right
City
away.
is like
He
a
just-
completely different like game altogether. Because
Fair enough.
Man City's not on the level of like, say Arsenal or Spurs or
Chelsea.
Liverpool, Chelsea, right? So like it's not the same as the other top 6.
Okay. So,
So
what do
the
you,
game
what do you
plan
think?
like you set up? I think United's gonna go for it. I'd expect a 2-2 draw, to be honest.
Very specific. That's a lot of goals for United.
No, I think Sanchez is gonna nick one here. Maybe Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Lukaku scores against his old club and a big team.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, Lukaku. United's entire forward line is just so unpredictable. It's like one game they can like really turn it on, but the other games it's just so
Yeah.
bland and so like lack of creativity.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think it really depends on Mourinho, like altogether. I think the United results don't really depend on the players at this point, because he literally
No.
decides whether they are allowed to go out and play or whether they have to sit back and defend for most of the game. So it really depends on what kind of game Mourinho wants this to be, and also it depends on whether Chelsea can recover from that game against Barca and be at like full strength in this game as well.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and agree that I think Mourinho's going to go all out for it. I mean, Sevilla, I think, was a different game. I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
he was playing for the defense when they were away, so that way at home they'd have advantage and they can really go all out for it. But at least for this one, they can't go defensive. You have the home advantage for one thing. Number two, it's that there's just so much on the line, you can't really risk it. You have to go for the points kind of thing to separate, because it's such a
Right.
close race between second to, I think, fifth. At least
Yeah.
second to fourth for sure. And you got to go for it at that point. Chelsea has to win. Man U has to win in either case scenario. You can't really go for a tie at this point. So they're going to have to go for it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Man U comes out with all guns.
Because if Chelsea end up losing the game, they drop out of the top four if Liverpool and Spurs win.
Yeah, that would be a big hit for them.
And then it'll be like a big. But on the other hand, if Chelsea win, it'll be an even more tight top four. Which, if Spurs slip up, then they're basically out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, especially with it so close and there's so much on the line for either being from second all the way to into the Europa League and outside of the Champions League.
I mean, unless one of the English teams wins the CL and end up finishing fifth, we can still see 5 or even 6 teams.
I think
because if Arsenal win the Europa League, and if I don't know what the rules are for that though.
For what?
Because if Arsenal win the Europa League, and then say Liverpool finish 5th in the Champions League, and we win the Liverpool finish 5th in the EPL, and we win the Champions League, like hypothetically.
Okay. I don't know.
That's 6
would that mean
teams
6
in Europe.
teams? Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah, I think it can go up to that high. I think all we can say is we're all hoping that an English team wins the Champions League, and then we don't have to worry with the end of the year standings at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Who do you? We actually did this last week. Me and Shrikar predicted the top 4. I'm gonna stick with my prediction. I think I said City, United, Liverpool, and then I think I said Tottenham, but that could honestly go either way between Tottenham and Chelsea. What do you think, Tristan? What's your top 4?
Oh, this one's tough. Number 1, I think, is undisputed. I think we're all can agree that it's gonna be Man City. They took a pretty early lead, and it's not like they've dropped form at all. So I think they're gonna easily continue that. Now for 2nd through 4th, I mean that's where you really come into an issue. I know that. I think a lot of people were discounting Chelsea as of the 2 games they had where they lost like 3-0, I think, to Bournemouth, and then they had like a 4-0 loss against like Watford or something like that.
Right.
I think those were kind of a unique situation for them. I don't think it's representative of what's going to be the rest of the season. That being said, they do have a very tough next 4 games, and then on top of that, they also got a Barcelona matchup as well. So it's really going to come down to those. But as far as if I had to pick a second, I'm gonna go with Man U. They've been consistent enough that I think they're gonna hold it up at the top, and then between a third, it's gonna. Personally, I think it's gonna be between Tottenham and Chelsea, and then 4th is gonna be. I guess in that case, then it'll be those top ones, and I think Liverpool's just gonna slip out, but it's really difficult to say, especially since Liverpool's been doing so well.
Liverpool's gonna slip out? That's a big call.
Well, because you got essentially Man U or Man City first, Man U second, and then just as preference-wise, I'll give the edge to Chelsea, even though Tottenham I think will realistically be 3rd. So then you got 4th, and then that leaves Liverpool 5th. That I'm not confident in these, but if I had to go, I think I'd do it that way.
Interesting. Liverpool do play well against the top 6 teams, though. Those are like their best games.
But we don't have enough games against the top 6 left.
Right, but I mean, if you're citing that as a reason for them dropping
No, I'm not citing that as a reason, but like still. We still have to go away to Old Trafford, and that could be, and we have to go to Chelsea.
Right.
Like, those 2 games could decide, like.
Right.
Because those are essentially 6-pointers. Like.
Are you gonna stick with your prediction as well, Shrikar? I forgot what yours was.
Yeah. I think Man City, of course, won. I think Liverpool's gonna finish 2nd.
Okay.
And in 3rd place, I think it's gonna be Spurs, and then 4th United.
Okay. Okay, that's a bit too much.
Yeah. No, you don't. I don't know. United could.
We're kicking each other's teams out.
Honestly, I think United are going to be 18th.
Yeah, a relegation.
I'm just going to relegate them.
Yeah, like Chelsea those years ago. I don't know.
I think mathematically the top 5 are safe from relegation. Arsenal still can be relegated.
I think. Oh my god! I think I actually looked at this. I think Arsenal are closer to the relegation zone than they are to the top.
The top of the table.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
I like how everyone's just like, nah, we're not even counting Arsenal. They're just not making it for sure.
They're hopeless, man. They're hopeless. I mean, even with Aubameyang, like, it's ridiculous. How can Wenger be so inept? Come on, like.
I don't know why he's not playing a two-striker setup with you have Aubameyang
On
and
FIFA,
Lacazette
that
in
formation
front.
kills.
Yeah.
Even without FIFA, like that is a reasonable two-striker man front there. They're both like fast. If you set up a good solid mid behind them where you can actually have a couple like playmakers, I mean, you're golden up there.
Yeah.
Dude, they have Ozil and Mkhitaryan. They're not average players. Those are like
They're not. They're just.
Ramsey's
pretty well-
good too for feeding.
almost.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's a bit of a hopeless situation, so we can walk that off the park.
they need a new
Arsenal.
manager.
Literally.
Who's
do.
gonna come in? Who's gonna come in?
But there's
Anyone.
actually a lot of good options right now. Ancelotti's still free agent. You also have Luis Enrique as well. So like,
But
there's two.
Ancelotti usually comes into a team which has like a base built.
Yeah, but he didn't
Like,
get to where he was not knowing how to build it up though.
Right, because I don't think he's more of a coach than a manager.
Well,
Like
I think that's what Arsenal need right now. I think Wenger has
A
way
coach?
too much control over everything.
Yeah.
I think what they need is someone to just handle the footballing situation, just get that sorted out.
Arsenal needs to spend just a tad more money in the market. They've been a little bit too lax, and I think that's part of the reason. They've been really relying on their scouting abilities and building up players from that. But if you want to stay consistently at the top, you do have to spend a little bit more, and I think just a tad more would give them a little bit more of an edge.
Yeah, yeah. They need a defensive midfielder, first of all. That's like their number one issue.
yeah.
They don't need
But-
strikers.
They don't need
No,
strikers.
they're good with
They need to play their
strikers.
strikers, but they don't need strikers. Yeah.
Maybe a bit of depth because they lost Giroud and then they lost. I guess Walcott was not really a striker, but I guess they could
Yeah,
add
like
a
a
bit
wing.
of depth.
Yeah, they lost Oxlade-Chamberlain too, which I think was a
Right.
big hit to them.
Yeah.
So like
And
on
then
the
Welbeck
wing,
is not doing so well anyway.
Who?
Welbeck.
Welbeck, I forgot about
oh
him.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I thought that was a
Yeah.
good move when they got him from Man U, but since then I just
Right,
haven't
but,
heard much about him.
didn't work out.
Man, like, Wenger has this, like, amazing ability to take amazing players and to just make them so average. Like, it's so sad. Like, Lacazette was world class, man. He just doesn't get a game
Yeah,
anymore.
basically.
Yeah. So I think that sums up our third episode here of Football Mezzanine. Some pretty cool games in the Champions League this week. And,
League Cup final this weekend. Not weekend, this week, midweek.
yeah, that's...
But nobody really cares.
I think Man
Mickey
City's
Mouse Cup,
taking
right,
that.
boys? Mickey Mouse Cup. Nobody cares.
Okay, I think you'd want to win it if you were in it, Shrikar.
Nah, fam, it's okay, bud.
We're
Okay.
out of it, so we don't care. We're like, nah, it's not important.
Nah, Europe's where it's at.
The
you
FA
know,
Cup's not
Champions League.
important.
It's only important
Nah,
where
FA
my
Cup,
team
who
is.
cares?
Screw Wigan.
FA Cup?
Screw Wigan, man.
Oh,
Screw
dude.
Wigan.
Oh, thank, I was
Wigan.
so happy about that.
No. Why were you
World
happy?
League's on
It makes it
fire.
easier for Chelsea to take the cup.
True.
Are Spurs still in it, or are they out?
Who?
Spurs.
Oh, they have a replay against like Rochdale or something.
Oh, yeah,
they
true.
should take that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Spurs are still in it. Arsenal? Are they out? Are they in? I think they're in, right?
No, they're out. They're out. They got out like against
Yeah. Chelsea and Leicester are another one. You have Man U and Brighton Hove Albion.
Ooh.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. No one cares about that cup anyway.
Nah, it's okay. Who cares?
And you got Wigan.
Wigan.
Screw Wigan.
Wigan.
It's
They're,
okay. We
like-
lost to West Brom.
I didn't even
That's
know
fine.
you could have like hoodoos against cup teams. Like, is that a thing?
No, it's a thing. Trust me.
Yeah, Liverpool fans would know. Crystal Palace. That's not a cup team
Yeah,
though.
screw. Dude, I swear, if Palace don't get relegated this season, oh man, I want them to get relegated so bad. Like, if there's one team, it has to be Palace.
I
Like, I
they're gonna
couldn't
stay
care
up.
less.
I think Roy Hodgson, Woy, is gonna make
Woy.
it. Yeah. So, especially with Christian
No.
Benteke leading them.
No, but Benteke's been like misfiring all season.
No, I know it
like,
was a joke.
very well.
You're supposed to laugh. Anyway,
Ha, ha, ha.
thanks, Tristan.
Oh, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, guys. That was the third episode of Football Mezzanine. I'm Ansh.
I'm Shrikar.
And I'm Tristan.
And that was Tristan, yeah. Cool. See you next
See
week.
you next week, guys.
Peace.